Okay, then you'll be taking this standard for the first time. Okay, the standard is called complex numbers, and what that means is you're going to have expressions involving that weird I. Okay. All right, simplify this completely. Okay. There is a 1 and a 2-step process, and put the 2 next to that thing I wrote down here. 8 plus 5i, that's a complex number, times 2 minus 3i, that's another complex number. It's basically the FOIL method, so 8 times 2, 8 times negative 3i, 5i times 2, and 5i times negative 3i. Okay, I get 16, negative 24i, 10i, and negative 15i squared. But remember, when you multiply expressions with the letter I, on the products where you got I to the second, this only is with the letter I, not with X, not with Y, it has to be I. You replace I to the second with negative 1, okay? Because I to the second equals negative 1. And then you find that product. What's negative 15 times negative 1? It's 15. Okay, now you got I. What are your I's? Negative 24 and 10. That makes negative 14. And then you have 2 constants now, because that doesn't have I anymore. 15 plus 16 is 31. Boom. And that's only with the letter I where you do that variable to the second equals negative 1. Alright, now you have 2 equations to solve. Find the 2 answers. 3x second minus 24 equals negative 108. It's a quadratic equation, 2 answers. So you get the x squared, and it's x squared only. So we want to isolate the x squared. First, we would add 24 to both sides. Then on a calculator, we would take negative 108 plus 24, negative 84. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. That's negative 28, and then we undo the second power with a square root, and these undo each other, and I have my x. But remember, square root's positive, negative, and if you have a negative under a square root, you make it positive and bring your I out. Okay? Now, let me dig out my square root list, because I want this simplified. On those isolating the x squared problems, I want them simplified the way we've discussed. If I can find the stupid thing. There it is, finally. Okay. Alright, now, 28 on this list. Nope. So you better make 2 square roots and see what 28's between these two. Does it divide by 25? Nope. Does it divide by 16? Nope. How about 9? How about 4? If it doesn't divide by 4, we're just leaving it the square root of 28. Oh, it did. So we need to put 4 in the first square root. 7 in the second, we replace that with its equal, which is 2. So you put 2 with the square root of 7. And I need to see that I that you needed right before the square root. Okay? You need the I if you have to put the square root over a negative. So 2i square root 7 and 2i square root negative. Okay, and because the regular number system does not include negatives, can't be square rooted, so we change the rules and bring an I outside. Okay, next problem. Got x squared, but unfortunately you also have x, so you're going to have to factor. So 0, 0, so there's 3 terms. So GCF and the T table. GCF, what do we got? Negative in front, no way. X on everything, no way. 4, 8, and 11, it's 1, forget it. A times C, 4 times 11, that's 44. Sum of 8. 1 and 44, that's a sum of 45. I don't think that's going to work. 44 divided by 2 is 22. That's a sum of 24. 44, 3 is a decimal. 4 and 11, that's a sum of 15. And that's the only factors you have. And on this standard, it's called complex numbers, you're always going to be using the letter I. So I never use I when I find the T-chart, so that's a fail. You know it's going to be a fail. So it's time for the quadratic formula song. Opposite of B, plus or minus D square root, B squared minus 4AC. So B is negative 8. 4, A is 4, and 11. Then we have 2 and 4. Okay, so let's just proceed like we normally would. We can adjust if something doesn't work. 2 times 4 is 8, square root time. So second square root, double the parentheses. Negative 8 to the second minus 4. 4, 11. Domain error. So what that means is to write a square root down and punch it in without the square root. Okay, so negative 8 to the second minus 4, 4, 11. Negative 112. Well, that's why you were getting the domain error, because this only does the regular number system. Okay, it's not going to square root negatives. We have to do that ourselves by bringing the I out. And when doing the quadratic formula, you may just square root that into a decimal rounded. You don't have to use that list and divide. Okay, 10.58, but you need to include the I on the 10.58. It's 10.58I. So that means you can't add, you can't subtract. You write a complex answer. 8 plus 10.58I over 8. And 8 minus 10.58I over 8. And if you really want to, you can just circle that, because that is 2 separate answers. But please remember, you FOIL, but the I squared needs to be replaced with negative 1, and then you got 2 sets of like terms. Also remember, when you're isolating x squared, when it comes time to square root, if you have a negative under the square root, you bring I out, and if that ain't on the list, you need to do it this way. 2 square root 7, and just put the I somewhere in your answer.